Hey guys, I've been playing Monster Hunter World Iceborne lately, and I've noticed a lot of people on social media seem to be having trouble with the Barioth fight. So I just wanted to put this out for some quick tips that helped me in taking him down, as I also prefer to beat a monster solo before I fight him with other hunters. First tip I want to make sure to get out there is make sure you're using the right weapon for the job. I initially tried to use the hammer to take this monster down, but ultimately ended up going with the longsword as I decided his damage windows opened and closed too quickly for a weapon that's both slow and doesn't have the range like the hammer did. That's not to say that there aren't great hammer players out here who would have no problem taking him down. I'm just saying pick the tool that's right for you for the job. The other reason that I shied away from the hammer is that severing the tail is a huge benefit in this fight, and the hammer lacks the ability to do so. That said, I made the Anjanath Master Rank Fire Sword, so that leads into my second tip. Make sure to use the right element for the job, and in this case, that's fire. Moving on to some less obvious tips. The name of the game with this monster happens to be part breaking. This monster's parts give it a far more lethal moveset than it does once they're broken. I would suggest the first order of business is severing that tail. His tail swipe covers a large area and shoots out ice shards. Once you sever the tail, it both decreases the area of effect and eliminates the ice shards. Once you sever the tail, move on to his forearms. His lunge attacks are far more devastating before his forearms are broken. Once they're broken, however, every time he goes to lunge at you, he tends to lose his footing, giving you an opportunity to do some damage. The next order of business is learn your clutch claw. It baffles me when I go into multiplayer fights how many hunters still don't know how to use this tool. It serves two very useful purposes. First off, whenever you attack one of the monster's parts with the clutch claw, it creates white marks on that part, indicating that for a limited amount of time the monster takes more damage to that particular part. The other use of the clutch claw is when you clutch onto the monster's head, if you stab it, it'll turn in a direction opposite of your stabbing it. You can point it at a wall and unload your slinger ammo into its head, which will cause the monster to rampage into the wall, knocking it unconscious and creating a huge opening for you to do extra damage. I virtually never see anybody take advantage of this in multiplayer, which leads me to the conclusion that a lot of hunters still don't understand how the clutch claw actually works. Another tip is don't forget about your environmental hazards. In one part of the ice caverns there's stalactites, I think 2 of them in the room. Each one can hit him for about 900 damage and also creates a huge window of opportunity to do some damage. And in the same vein as environmental hazards, be aware of turf wars. Unfortunately, Barioth appears to be an apex when you fight him, so he doesn't trade evenly with all the other monsters. But if you can get him into a turf war with Fulgor Anjanath, they will trade blow for blow, and that'll take a huge chunk out of his health. Finally, the last of the non-monster specific tips is make sure to bring the tools that you need. Mega Barrel Bombs can take a huge chunk of his health when he falls asleep, as well as traps can create openings for you to do more damage to specific parts. Now let's talk about a few of the monster's more threatening moves. The big daddy that you really need to avoid is his pounce, where he buries both of his tusks into the ice. If that one hits you, it seems to take a massive chunk of your health, so I would avoid that one at all costs. You can generally tell this move's coming because he'll arch his back and bring both of his shoulders close together before he does it. So if you see him do that, start to flee to one side. The other move that's problematic is his hip check. With his hip check, I found if you're damaging his parts, particularly the tails and the forearm, it generally leaves you with a lot more time to move out of the area as opposed to if you're damaging him in his midsection. So if you catch yourself in that position when he goes to do his hip check, you're generally okay. The last move I want to talk about is his Ice Breath. By this point in the story, you've faced several ice-based monsters, so if you haven't gotten your ice resistance up yet, it's probably time to do so. There's an easy way to do that because the Elder Melder gives you a quest to go kill a Great Jagras, and the reward for that is a level 4 ice resistance jewel, which sockets nicely into any set. Also, just a final word of caution, if you manage not to break his parts, when he gets to his final section in the den, you're fighting him in very close quarters, and having his full moveset in that area will make him very difficult to deal with, so I just suggest that you make sure to break those parts, as that's the majority of the fight here. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I hope these tips will help you kill that saber-tooth, tiger, kitty, wyvern thing. If you found any of these tips helpful, please take a second to hit that like button. And if you have any further questions about the fight, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you're interested in gaming reviews, tips, and Let's Play videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. That's it for me, guys. Until next time, be awesome to each other.